everyone. Today we are going to discuss the grade 11 unit 9 heat. We are going to discuss this lesson in about 4 parts. Today we will be discussing the first part. Temperature. You might have heard this word temperature. You have also experienced this temperature. I will remind you some instances. Think, when you dry clothes during a sunny day, what happens? The clothes dry very faster. And during a rainy day, if you dry the clothes, what happens? It takes a lot of time to dry the clothes. The reason behind this is temperature. During the rainy days, the temperature is low, and during the sunny days, the temperature is high. And when eating an ice cream, you might have experienced the coolness. And also while drinking a hot coffee or a hot tea, you might have experienced the warmness of it. The reason behind this is also temperature. Think, you might have gone on trips. When you go to a place like Nuwara, you start to feel cold. And when you go to a place like Trincomalee, you will start to get warm, or you feel hot, you feel sweating. The reason behind this is also temperature. In a place like Nuwara, the temperature is very low, and in places like Trincomalee, the temperature is high. So this is also an example of temperature, high temperature and low temperature. The physical quantity that describes all these instances is temperature. And another example is ice cubes. When you take ice cubes, they have low temperature, and when you take warm water, it has a high temperature. We can feel the temperature of objects by touching them. What is the reason for this? Sometimes we touch something and tell this is hot, and sometimes we touch something and tell that this is cool. How can we tell like this? What is the reason for this? The reason is our body also has a temperature. Compared to our body, when the temperature is higher, we tell that it is hot. According to our body, or compared to our body, when the temperature is low, we tell that it is cold. Like that, we can touch objects and tell whether it have a higher temperature or a lower temperature by touching it. What is the definition for temperature? The definition for temperature is measure of the mean kinetic energy possessed by the particles that form an object. Measuring temperature. How can we measure the temperature? Yes, as I told you before, we can measure the temperature by touching. We can tell whether it's hot or cold. But we cannot give an exact value. We cannot tell that this is about 27 degrees Celsius hot. We cannot tell that this is about 0 degrees Celsius or minus 15 degrees Celsius. Like that, we cannot express it in a numerical value by touching anything. And sometimes it can be dangerous also. If we touch something very hot, our hands even can start to burn. Because of this reason, the scientist Galileo Galilei invented the thermometer. This thermometer is used to measure the temperature of objects. We come across lot of thermometers. Glass mercury thermometer, glass alcohol thermometer, clinical thermometer, electrical thermometer, and there are lots of kinds of thermometers. But in this lesson, we will be discussing about 3 types of thermometers. First is the glass mercury thermometer. How is this thermometer constructed? This is constructed by connecting a narrow glass tube, a very thin glass tube, to a small bulb containing mercury. You can see in this picture, this red color, this is the small bulb, and you can see this is the narrow glass tube. In this red color bulb, you can see it's filled with mercury, and on the glass tube, a scale is marked. Values are marked on the glass tube. What happens when we are testing the temperature of something? When the temperature increases, this mercury column gradually rises up. When it rises up, we can check the scale and mark the correct temperature. This is very useful for us to measure the temperature of objects and especially and temperature of liquids. This glass mercury thermometer is a very good thermal conductor, but there is one disadvantage of this. That is, mercury is little toxic. Because of this, this can be a disadvantage for us. Then glass alcohol thermometer. Glass alcohol thermometer is also constructed in the same way like the mercury thermometer. That means a glass tube, a very thin glass tube, is connected to a bulb. Here the bulb does not contain mercury. Instead of mercury, the bulb contains alcohol. Here we use ethyl alcohol, or you call it ethanol. There is an advantage in using this alcohol thermometer. That is, the melting point of alcohol is about minus 115 degrees Celsius. Because of that, we can use this to measure very low temperatures. And another thing, this ethanol or this purified ethanol is colorless. It does not have a color. So if we use this as it is, it's difficult for us to measure the scale. That means when the alcohol column rises up, we cannot see it rising up because it is colorless. Because of this reason, we will use a coloring for this ethanol so that we can see the alcohol column rising up and we can mark the scale accurately. Digital thermometer. There is a small difference in digital thermometer. In the mercury thermometer and in the alcohol thermometer, we measured the temperature by the expansion of the liquid. That means by the expansion of mercury and by the expansion of alcohol only we measured the temperature. But in the case of digital thermometer, we do not use the property expansion. We use an electrical property called resistance to measure the temperature of objects by using the digital thermometer. Temperature scales. We know 3 temperature scales, that is Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale and Kelvin scale. I'll tell you the differences and the similarities of these 3 scales. Mostly in Sri Lanka we use the Celsius scale and we also use the Kelvin scale. These when we are taking a scale, we use 2 fixed points. Fixed points means the definite temperatures we use to form a temperature scale. The 2 definite temperatures that we use to make a temperature scale is called the fixed points. So in Celsius scale, we use 0 degrees Celsius and 100 degrees Celsius as the 2 fixed points. In Fahrenheit, we use 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 212 Fahrenheit. In Kelvin, we use 273 Kelvin and 373 Kelvin as the 2 fixed points. This Celsius scale can be divided into 100 division scales, 100 equal division scales. That is, you can see 100 minus 0, we get 100. So we can divide this into equal 100 division scales. And Fahrenheit scale, 212 minus 32, you get 180. So we can divide this Fahrenheit scale into 180 equal divisions. The Kelvin scale also can be divided into 100 equal divisions. So the Celsius scale and the Kelvin scale can be divided into 100 divisions and the Fahrenheit scale can be divided into 180 divisions. This Celsius scale was introduced by the scientist Anders Celsius. The Fahrenheit scale was introduced by the scientist Gabriel Fahrenheit. The Kelvin scale was introduced by Lord Kelvin. All these 3 have an international unit. The international unit of Celsius scale is degree Celsius. The international scale of Fahrenheit is degree Fahrenheit. And the international scale of Kelvin is capital K. Relationship between scales. What is the relationship between scales? You can see 100 Celsius divisions equal to 100 Kelvin divisions. That means 1 Celsius division equal 1 Kelvin division. You can see there are 3 thermometers. When taking scales, we normally take the freezing point of water and the boiling point of water. When you take the freezing point of water in Fahrenheit, it is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and in Celsius it is 0 degrees Celsius, and in Kelvin it is 273 Kelvin. The boiling point of water in Fahrenheit is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and in Celsius it's 100 degrees Celsius, and in Kelvin it is 373 Kelvin. This we can divide into 180 equal divisions. This we can divide into 100 equal divisions, and this also we can divide into 100 equal divisions. What is this absolute temperature? This absolute temperature was introduced by the scientist Lord Kelvin, and this absolute temperature is the minimum value of temperature that an object can reach. That means the smallest value of temperature object can reach is the absolute temperature. Conversion of scales. When doing calculations, when doing questions, we'll have to change Celsius to Kelvin and Kelvin to Celsius. I have given 2 examples for each. Now I am going to convert the Celsius into Kelvin. When converting Celsius into Kelvin, we have to add 273. And when converting Kelvin to Celsius, we have to subtract 273. Now you can see the first example. It's 10 degrees Celsius. I want to convert this 10 degrees Celsius into Kelvin. What I am doing, I am taking the 10 and I am adding 273 Kelvin. Then I get 273 plus 10, 283 Kelvin. I'll tell you again. 10 degrees Celsius, I want to convert into Kelvin. What I have to do, I add 273 Kelvin to this 10. Then I get 283 Kelvin. I get the answer in Kelvin. Second example, 127 degrees Celsius. I want to convert this 127 degrees Celsius into Kelvin. Then 127 plus 273, I get 400 Kelvin. There's a typing mistake here. You get 400 Kelvin. You add 273 to this 127. Then you get 400 Kelvin. Now I am going to convert Kelvin into Celsius. When converting Kelvin into Celsius, I have to subtract 273. You can see, first example, I want to convert 373 Kelvin into Celsius. I am going to subtract 273 from 373. Then I get the answer in Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius. Next example, 100 Kelvin. I want to convert this 100 Kelvin into Celsius. Then 100 minus 273. I want to subtract 273 from 100. Then I get the answer as minus 173. You can see plus into minus minus. So 273 minus 100, I get 173, and 273 is the big number. It has minus. So the answer comes in minus 173 degrees Celsius. And in your textbook there is exercise to convert Celsius to Kelvin and Kelvin to Celsius. You can do it and try it on your own. Let's meet again with another video.